What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Tyler Perry's Sistas. This is season 5, episode 12, and the episode is titled Backlash. Let's jump right into this review. So, we start off exactly where we left off, and that is with Sabrina. She is at Calvin's place. He is attacking Q with the golf club, and yeah, that's where we're at. So she's out here hollering for him to stop because she doesn't want him to kill Q. He's like, no, we're going to get a confession out of him. So he stops hitting him, and then he tries to record him, and he's like, keep in mind I keep saying he, but I'm talking about Calvin. He's like, tell the truth or I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. So Q is over here laid out in the fetal position, and he's not telling him anything. So Calvin, he's so pissed off, he starts swinging his golf club around again. You have Sabrina stepping in, trying to stop him. Next thing you know, she's like, he needs to leave. And Calvin is like, no, I gotta get a confession out of him. Y'all, Q finally leave or whatever. And she's like, he couldn't do anything because he was under duress. Which is because Calvin kept trying to force him to say something, it would not be taken seriously in the court of law, basically. And he's like, oh, well, I should be asking you how you're doing. And I'm just like, Calvin, I don't understand his character at this point. You were literally living with Q for all this time, knowing what he did to Maurice, okay? And you're out here scared to call the landlord because your name isn't on the lease? Okay, even though you know Maurice's situation, you can literally say, oh, my friend went on vacation, told me to house sit for a couple of days, there's a stranger in his place. You couldn't call nobody, you can't call the police. Also, now that I think about it, you calling the police ain't got nothing to do with the landlord. Q needs to be in jail. And also, the fact that it took Sabrina hitting him with the golf club for you to realize that you should have been hitting him with the golf club 3-4 episodes ago. Make it make sense. Calvin, get it together. So let's jump on over to the other girls, which is Sabrina. We have Andy, and then we have Danni. So they're all waiting to know who the baby daddy is. Oh, of course, Karen don't want to say nothing. Baby, here comes Andy talking about, well, you don't have to say anything. Yes, she does. Because ain't no way she done dragged y'all all the way to this hospital, found out the date, and then she don't want to tell you who the baby daddy is. That's a waste of y'all time. Here goes Danni. This is something I would have done. She whips out her phone. Baby, let's do some calculations and get a calendar, because I don't have time to play around with Karen, trying to waste my time. So before they start doing all these math calculations, Sabrina decides to go ahead and spit it out. She says it is Zach's baby. Now, the girls are kind of stunned. I don't know why. And then what got me was how Karen was like, oh, and you can go ahead and tell your friend or whatever, telling this to Andy. And I'm just like, whoa. Shouldn't you be conversing with Zach, saying, hey, Zach, let me go ahead and let you know I ran some tests, and I just want to let you know that this is your baby. Therefore, he can tell Fatima, not have Andy run it back to Fatima. That's messy. And what's crazy is that the ladies asked her, oh, so are you going to tell Zach? She's like, oh, I'm about to go to the salon and I'll think about it. I'm like, girl, you did all of this. You wrote letters and you had meetings with these men and all of this stuff. But now when it comes to telling them important information, you want to sit there and ponder on it? Okay, Karen. So then the girls are like, oh, okay, well, you know what? I'm sorry, not the girls. Andy. Andy's like, you know what? We all can just come back to my place, talk about it. We can be a community or whatever. And they all agree they're going to go back to Andy's place. Now, here's the thing that I will say. The girls, I don't know if it's that they don't believe that it's Zach baby, or they were hoping and praying that it was going to be Aaron's baby. I was a little confused. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and move on, because we are back with Sabrina and Calvin, y'all. Now they have to, sit there and rehash what just happened. Now, here's the thing. She's like, oh, you beat him up, blah, blah, blah. And he goes on to say, anything for you. And I'm just like, oh, that's really sweet. even though y'all were never officially together and she basically dissed you every time she could when she was with her homegirls. But you know what? Let's go ahead and ignore that. We're just happy that Sabrina is out of jail. So Sabrina ends up telling him, like, oh, Danni told me, about the money you will put up for my bail. And he's like, oh, but she never called. And then she's like, because I didn't need the money. Now, let's go ahead and get into this Maurice conversation, because I'm like, Calvin, why are you sitting up here lying in this woman's face? He literally said that he had not heard from Maurice or whatever, but you know how Maurice is. No, sweetheart. Say, oh, I was actually getting phone calls from jail, but I did not know that it was Maurice, so I didn't answer. I would rather you say that than to sit up here and lie as if Maurice is beating himself up about what happened, so he decided not to call nobody. Really, Calvin? Let's not play like that. Anywho, now these two are thinking of a master plan of how we can try to get Maurice out of jail, because he was not behind this at all. This is all Q's doing. So I will say I appreciate it. Calvin saying how he liked her hair like this or whatever. Sweet moment. However, I just feel like this hairstyle with the way they style her and what, her outfits be looking like, it really got her looking like a middle school teacher. I'm sorry, I have to say it. Sabrina is out here looking like a middle school teacher right now, and I can't take it. I want her hair in a different style. Let's put some, some hair care products in there. I mean, you might not be able to put no Mael, rosemary oil in there because the white girls done bought that out. But we need to do something with this. I want to see like some, pretty curls. Y'all know what I'm saying. Like, her hair is just too dry. But nonetheless, she decides that she's going to go ahead and head home. And he basically lets her know that he's always going to be there for her. Really sweet, really cute moment. Now, I just want to know, where is the African prince, y'all? I kind of forgot about that storyline, but I'm bringing it back. Where is the African prince? That's my real question here. Because I feel like we came up with this storyline of her going to jail and the man been gone. We didn't see him checking for her. Let's see if she gonna call him. Like, I need something to happen because he was a little extra too. But let's go ahead and move on because we see our girl Fatima. And then we also see her man Zach. Y'all, Zach decided to go ahead and come up to her job so that way he can let her know what was going on when it comes to him having to pay this child support. So he ended up letting Fatima know she was right, and his lawyer basically told him that he needs to go ahead and get on the good foot when it comes to Heather as well as Karen with his potential baby. So she's like, oh, okay, cool. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and meet up with Karen at the salon. She's like, no, you're not going to do that. So Fatima only feels comfortable if, number one, Zach meets up with these women when she's present, and also if this interaction happens within their home. I don't really blame her for that, just because both of these women have tried it with Zach, and I don't trust him. So I don't even mind her being like she wants to be involved, especially considering she's going to be around these children as well because she is engaged to Zach. So, of course, she's like, well, I can go ahead and set everything up. Zach is like, girl, you can't set nothing up because he knows how her family get down and all of that. Which, honestly, I think it would be kind of weird if Fatima was to call Karen and be like, hey, I know you don't really like me, but can you come to our house so we can talk about something? That would be weird. I definitely think that Zach needs to go ahead, put on his big boy drawers, and make those phone calls. Here comes Hayden, y'all. Hayden just pops up every time Zach is at this office. And don't worry, Hayden comes bearing gifts as if this is Christmas time, because he decides that he's going to go ahead and serve Zach his papers right then and there. Now, a few people in the comments let me know, Hayden is actually a tax attorney. I have no idea what this have to do with him being able to have a child support case, but this is what he be working with. So, of course, he's now serving Zach the paperwork saying that, hey, you got this child support that's due, okay? Zach, he doesn't want to take the paperwork. He's like, nope, I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it. And Fatima's like, you have to take it. If you don't take the paperwork, then I'm going to go ahead and read it. And he's like, fine, you read it. And she's like, no, you need to take this paperwork to your lawyer. And Zach is like, well, if I do, then Hayden's going to win, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, one thing that I hate about Zach's character is how much of a, like, I don't want to call him like a crybaby, but like, Zach really does whine about a lot of stuff. Like, every time things don't go his way, he kind of throw a little hissy fit. And I'm just like, could you please just put your big boy drawers on and say, you know what? I'm not even sweating him. I'm about to go ahead and let my lawyer handle it. Can we just get one of those scenes? Just one, Tyler. I just want one scene where Zach decides to put his big boy drawers on and make big boy decisions. That's all I'm asking for. But again, let me just go ahead and go back to this storyline. We have Andy popping up. She basically sends Zach on his way. And she just, was checking in on Fatima, saw what cases and things that she has going on her agenda. And that was pretty much that. Because she decided that she was going to go check in with Robin. So Robin is like, you gonna make sure your girl ain't gonna run off? And she's like, I promise, you can count on me. She's not gonna do that. And of course, I'm like, Robin, I would want to make sure of that as well, because $3 million, that's a lot of money for him to be losing. Just saying. So they kind of have like a little joking banter about if the conversation was going to be about business or not. And he admits his faults, because we already know Robin was dead wrong the way he was coming at Andy when he was like, if this isn't about business, then, don't come to my office, blah, blah, blah. He was really on one there. So Andy happened to notice like something was wrong with him. She's like, what's going on? So this is where he's opening up about this bad business deal that he had with Gary and Hayden, of course. So he goes on to talk about how they're going to do like some type of call where everybody has to like put into the pot. And basically he has to come up with $14 million. Now listen, the man got money. He balling out of control. However, $14 million to put into a pot, and then I don't know where exactly it goes. Yeah, that sounds crazy. So, he is really stressed out about this. He just lost $1 million because he had to help Andy out, and there's just a lot on this man's plate. So he's basically trying to figure out, like, you must have known about this, Andy. And she's like, no, I don't know nothing about it. Which technically she's not lying, because Gary never opened up and told her what was going on with him and Hayden and this bad business deal. But she did sort of kind of find out some information when she was going through that man's jacket, and she saw the papers. Like I said in my other review, Andy, why didn't you take photos of those papers? So now, y'all, this is where Andy shocks me again. She's like, oh, well, maybe I can sort of kind of help you out, because I know someone who could probably lend you that kind of money, but there's high interest, your arms might get broken, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, girl, who you gonna hook him up with, the madam? You mean to tell me you literally love the materialistic things that Gary has gotten you that much? Because that's all this boils down to. Her wanting to stay in this penthouse, her wanting to keep the fancy car, keep all the stuff that Gary gave her, while still playing around with Robin and his emotions. Like, let's call a thing here. Andy is really trying to play both of these men and see which one of them wins. So when they have this conversation about how, she's worth it, it's like them playing a game of chess or whatever example they use. She's like, oh, I'm not a prize. And I'm like, yeah, technically you're not a prize. But in this situation, you are playing the game as if both of them need to be fighting for your affection to win you. So I'm not understanding why we're playing like Andy is not sitting up here trying to run game on both of these men. I'm just so sick of her. You know what? Let's just go ahead and move on. We got a quick scene of Karen. She went to the salon And Pam was kind of shocked that she was there. Like, girl, shouldn't you be on bed rest? But Karen is like, nope, the doctor said I can be here. So, I'm here. So next thing you know, she's like, well, is Aaron here already? And Pam is like, nah, he not here. So Karen goes to the back, and next thing you know, who walks in the door? Aaron, of course. So I'm assuming that Karen is going to tell Aaron first how he not the daddy. That's what I'm going to assume. And I thought it was hilarious when Pam was like, oh, you just like a puppy. Like, every time she called, here you come. I said, yep, that's exactly what this is. That is the one thing that I really hate about Karen and Aaron's relationship, is that he really does act like a puppy. If she calls, he comes running. And it's like he never is able to put his foot down or just be like, nah, I ain't messing with you right now. Like, I don't know. His character is so strange to me. But let's go ahead and move on, because Fatima, she got something up her sleeve, and she is definitely trying to get Hayden back. So what's her master plan? She calls her cousin up and is like, I want you to send me the baddest chick you got. And make sure she's like a super gold digger, because basically she wants the person to come up there, ask for Hayden, say that she got into a bad car accident, and what he can do for her. She want to make sure he take the case, and then basically start dating this girl so that she can drain his pockets. I'm like, you know what? Sounds like a plan to me. I'm supporting this, because I am sick and tired of Hayden. He gets on my everlasting nerve. I mean, he does make a good villain, but sometimes I'm just like, all right, enough Hayden. Find something else. Like, I'm super interested to see how this storyline is going to play out. Now, let's hop on back over to Karen and Aaron, because this is where she really has to tell him what's going on. So Karen starts off by saying how she can come back to work. The doctor said as long as she eases back into things, it'll be fine. So he already knows that the whole purpose of this trip to the doctor was to figure out who was the daddy. And because she started with that, he's like, so the baby is Zach's. And she's like, yeah, the doctor is pretty certain that, it's Zach's baby. And, you can tell that he's feeling away. So she asked him, what do you feel? And of course he's disappointed, but, he said he all right. So he then asked her how she was doing, and she's like, she's okay. And I'm like, well, Karen, if we really think about things, you should be jumping for joy, because you've been so adamant about this being Zach's baby that, you never even gave it a chance or even a thought that this would be Aaron's baby. Like, I understand what Tyler is trying to do. He's trying to make it an in spite of relationship. And what I mean by that is, in spite of this being Zach's baby, Aaron's going to be there. In spite of Karen being a hot mess, Aaron's going to be there. In spite of, we're going to make this relationship work. But here's the thing. I just feel like there's no way that you're going to tell me that after she wrote those raggedy letters that now she's about to be so into Aaron. You cannot tell me that. There's no way, because this woman has wanted him out of her life, out of her face, and out of her house on so many occasions. Let's be honest here. But now you about to magically fall in love with him? I can already see the setup. Tyler, I'm not here for it. But you already know that Tyler is going to make Aaron be extremely supportive, and that is exactly what happened in this scene, because he wanted to know how he can help Karen. So next thing you know, they start eating, and I'm just like, man, if this man don't do nothing, he gonna have some food with him. Now that's one thing I can rock with Aaron on, because that man stayed with a bag of food somewhere with him. So we come back from commercial, and they are still eating lunch, and he's like, so when are you going to talk to Zach? Now, Karen is like, oh, I don't know when I'm going to talk to him, but I'm going to, talk to the girls tonight about it, and we'll see, what they think of it. So he's like, oh, yeah, that's a smart idea. So then she's like, so what do you think? And he's like, well, as long as you stay calm, I think the conversation will go well, or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. Next thing you know, there's a knock at the door. It's Pam. She lets her know that Sabrina is at the door. All right, cool. So, he decides that he's about to go ahead and head out. And Karen is like, oh, so I'm going to see you tonight? I'm like, wasn't you going to be with the girls tonight? So I take it as you going to stop by Andy's house and head out real early. That's what I think is about to happen. I feel like she about to stop by at about 7. She's done with them girls at 8 o'clock because now she got to go be with her man, Aaron. So she ends up asking him again if he's okay with the situation. And y'all, he gonna tell her, what's not to love about a baby that's coming through you? I said, you know what, Tyler, you could have kept that line, because I get where we were trying to go with it, but I wasn't feeling it. Like, nothing was sexy about that line. Nothing was attractive about that line. I just feel like at this point, Aaron is trying way too hard to be accepted by Karen. He is doing anything to be her man. All right, so we finally get Sabrina coming in. And one thing that I found interesting was that Pam stayed in the room and Karen didn't say anything. Usually, whenever she tries to, shoo Pam away, she'll say something like, Pam, all right, go check on some clients, go check the books, go check the shampoo, go check anything and get away from here. But Pam actually stayed for the conversation. And, she's like, Brina, how are you? Sabrina talks about how she felt violated, especially her having to cut her hair off. And she's like, she basically wants her hair back the way it was. And Pam is like, well, I really do like your natural hair. And Sabrina is like, thank you. But, she still wants it back the way it was. And, Pam is trying to understand, like, why don't you want to keep your natural hair the way that it is? And I said, you know what, Pam? This is where you're about to get kicked out. And that's exactly what happened. Of course, Karen sends her away, tells her that she has to go back to work. And I just feel like I understand where Pam was coming from. Pam was just trying to get some understanding and clarity as to if your natural hair is really beautiful, like, why do you want to put the locks back in? But I absolutely understand why Sabrina wants to put the locks back in, because number one, the first thing she said was that she felt violated. The fact that she had to take her hair down and cut her hair, you know what I'm saying? Cut her hair, take the hair down, do all this stuff because that's what the law says that the inmates have to do. Not on her own account, not her own free will. I absolutely understand it. So Karen ends up letting her know we can go ahead and put the locks back in. Don't you worry about it. And then they start talking about, has she talked to Maurice or, what's going on with that. And she lets Karen know that, she hasn't talked to Maurice. He's still in there. She lets her know about how Calvin beat up Q. But at the end of the day, Sabrina is going to be okay. All right, so in the next scene, we have Fatima meeting up with this girl who's basically going to play Hayden. So they go to like the side room, back room or whatever. And, she's like, oh yeah, you're going to work perfectly. And the girl's like, so what do you want me to do? So she's like, basically she wants this girl to play Hayden and he can't find out that he's being played. All their conversations, she basically wants the girl to report back, let her know what he's talking about or whatever, and for, Hayden to fall in love with her. That's basically the plan. And this girl says she got this. Baby girl can go from real hood, to very prissy and bougie. So we gonna see how this goes, because I'm like, oh, okay. Madam really has it on lock. Do I need to go watch All the Queen's Men, y'all? I still haven't watched it. Like, is it really good? Because Madam seemed like she got it going on over there. So the girl walks out. What is her name? I think it's Tamara. Yeah, Tamara. She walks out or whatever, and she tells the receptionist, she's here for Hayden. Receptionist calls him up. He's like, oh, I don't take walk-ins. She's like, oh, I'll wait for him. And he's like, all right, I'm going to come to the front. Y'all, he get there. Of course, he already about to thirst after this girl. I'm like, yep, she got this in the bag. So they meet and they head back to his office so that way they can talk. Oh, one thing I was going to point out is that he was trying to figure out who recommended him. And she's like, oh, someone just told me. She said that you were cute. You were this, that, another, or whatever. Baby girl is playing it up. He's eating it up. So as they're heading back to the office, we see Fatima come out or whatever. And she like sees them walking past. And she's like, yep, this is going to work. Let's go ahead and hop on over to Danni now because she's at work. And of course, who pops up? Q. Now, keep in mind, baby boy's struggling because, his back got tore up or whatever. So she's like, what happened to you? And he's like, oh, that guy that was staring at you, I saw him outside. We had a fight and, I beat him up, all this stuff. I'm just like, all right, here we go with the lies. So he's like, yeah, but don't worry about it. You can thank me, whenever you feel like it, because I did it for you or whatever. She's like, I told you to leave that man alone. Also, what did he hit you with or whatever? And he was like, oh, he hit me with a bat. She was like, oh, so you let an injured man hit you with a bat? And I'm just like, girl, right then and there, you should have been like, sir, why are you lying? What really happened? Because Jonah was definitely too injured to be fighting like that, especially swinging a bat around, and he already was limping on one side. His ribs was messed up, all that stuff. He had enough going on him. Ain't no way he was gonna fight Q. Q should have came up with a better lie. So Q even offers to walk her to her car or whatever, and she's like, nah, no thank you. And I'm just like, that's absolutely right, Danni. Tell him no thank you, because I don't know what he might try to do, because I do not trust Q. Alright, now let's go ahead and talk about Andy and Fatima, because Fatima drops by her office to see if she needs anything else. Andy's good to go, and she's like, oh wait, before I head out, I saw you talking to Robin, is everything good? And Andy's like, yeah, everything's good. He really did help Sabrina out. And Fatima was like, okay, but at what cost? Because the last time that we left off with Robin, he was not acting like himself, first of all, and he disrespected Andy. So that is where Fatima is coming from. Like, yo, this dude disrespected you, where y'all stand? And Andy's like, I know where he was coming from now. We're all good. We talked about it. And at one point, Andy made like this weird like cough or whatever. And Fatima's like, wait, what's going on? Because there's something, you're not telling me. You need to tell me or whatever. And Andy's like, no, we're all good, but I think there's something that you're not telling me, because I see a tan line on your ring finger, because I guess she's been wearing this ring so much and taking it off that now she has some type of line or indentation. I'm like, all right, Tyler, because I don't know. I just think there should have been a better way for this topic of the engagement to happen. So let's go ahead and check in with Maurice, because again, we haven't seen him in a while, or should I say the whole episode, because we only saw a glimpse of him last week and we're seeing another glimpse of him now. This same prosecutor is back, and he's like, if you flip on Sabrina, we'll let you go free, blah, blah, blah. And Maurice is not taking the bait. But here comes Mr. Prosecutor with the plot twist, lying and saying that, well, Sabrina flipped on you. She said that it was all your fault, blah, blah, blah. And now you have Maurice questioning everything. And the guy's like, you just have to sign on this paper. You'll be out of jail in an hour. And then we see Maurice pick up the pen. And I don't think he's going to sign the papers. That was pretty much the end of the episode. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Like, the episode was okay, but I need a little bit more, action to be happening. But go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.